Now, concerns have been raised as teachers now fear for their lives. This as the education system seems to be crumbling, with disruptions becoming a common practice. When parents disagree with proposed rules or suggestions at schools, they choose to take up arms in protest, ultimately disrupting classes and the curriculum. This creates a sense of fear among teachers. The most recent case is in the Eastern Cape, where parents are demanding the appointment of a new principal. General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union, Mugwena, Maluleke, joins us now live just to discuss this further with us in terms of their concerns. Mr. Maluleke, thank you very much for your time. This school in the Eastern Cape, parents opting to actually disrupt classes, then affecting a very important term, especially for those who are expected to be writing from next month. Any concern around how parents act when things don't go their way?
Let me greet you, Osmasiho, and your viewers at home, and I appreciate the opportunity. Indeed, there is a very serious concern from the side of the teachers that indeed their safety and security at the level of employment is not something that is being taken seriously. And then we are depending on our parents and communities basically to protect the teachers at work, to protect our students when they're at school. And when it becomes the very same community, and parents in particular, who disrupt the learning activity, which affect in a very negative way the progress of our students because they miss classes, and that's impacted very badly on the curriculum coverage, whereas we're still coming from the backlog of the COVID-19, which has really put us back many years, almost like 9 years back, in terms of the work that we need to do to deal with the deficit. So it's a concern. And therefore, it's something that we need to be able to arrest before it becomes a norm in South Africa, because education in our country, and I must say without any fear or doubt that we're not taking education seriously as South Africa, because when you want a card road, when you want something, you go and disrupt learning of the students, something that is supposed to be really protected, and be making sure that we stand there as parents and say, we will not disrupt the school.
Does the department have any part in terms of the blame when it comes to parents saying that we've been speaking to the departments for many months, they haven't gotten back to us with our demands? Then, the anger spills over.
Definitely. I hate, pointing fingers or blaming, but in this particular instance, this is not the only school, unfortunately. There are many schools where the parents or the school or the teachers themselves would raise issues with the Department of Education. And the department would forget that there's regulation that needs to regulate some of these particular complaints that have been raised about whether it's non-appointment or unhappiness about the issue of appointment in the level of the school, but also in terms of dealing with the safety of the workers in school. There is a regulation that addresses that. Of course, there are inadequacies of the regulation, but the issue here is about response, the prompt response by the department. The department wait until there is a crisis, like where the school will be disrupted and the classes are not taking place. Then the department come rushing and wanting to address the symptom and not address the real issue that is there. So there is, there is slackness from the side of the department in dealing with issues on time, so that then we are able to prevent the disruption of classes. So in these particular instances, I can really point a finger at the department and say it's responsible for the disruption because they're not responsive.
Tell me something. I don't know, Mr. Maluleke, if you have any members at the Mugwena Junior Secondary School in the Eastern Cape. Our understanding is that there hasn't been any learning since February. And obviously, this came to the media's attention when they realized that there were roads that were blockaded going towards the school, etc. But apparently, there hasn't been any schooling since February because teachers fear for their lives. Is this true? And what's the solution in terms of making sure that, at the moment, it's the learners that are suffering?
It's true that there will be, those particular incidences that disrupt the school, and as I'm saying, it's not the only school, unfortunately. We have one in Soshanguve that has been ongoing since February, where the parents would go shut the school down, chase the children away, chase the teachers, and sometimes attack the teachers physically. Again, there is no solution because the department is not responsive. The department does not implement their own regulations around that. What needs to happen is that the department has to implement regulation to avoid parents having to take the law into their hands in order to address the issues that they will raise with the department. And there must be a communication which is very prompt, which is very timeous to those particular concerns that have been raised by whatever stakeholder, whichever stakeholder is raised. They must be able to go back to that particular stakeholder and say, this is the work that we're doing in addressing your concern. I mean, if there's no education like it has happened in this instance since Feb, and obviously we had to close the school in March for a short term, and then we come back. The problem has not been resolved. What is expected from the teachers? They're not safe, and obviously they will not risk their lives because one is that the teachers are not protected by any law in this country. Should it happen that they are hurt at the level of the school, they're not protected by the occupational health and safety. They're not protected by COIDA, so they are outside all these particular things that they can then say. Sometimes their cars have been damaged. Nobody takes responsibility when their cars are damaged. There's a recent outcome of the court in Malanga that says, no, there's nothing that the teachers can do except suing the state. Not every teacher has the money to be able to sue the state when you are injured or when your property is damaged at the level of work.
But is there any responsibility that you take as organized labor and as SATU? Because, I mean, every single year there's an education lekhotla. You sit in Boksburg, with the minister, trying to find solutions, and you're part of that lekhotla. Yet there's always crises in the education system.
Yes, we do take responsibility, I must say, Osmasiko. First is that we have launched this campaign that is called I'm a School Fair. This campaign basically is not the union campaign, it's a societal campaign. It has to deal with all these issues of violence, it has to deal with issues of disruptions of the learning situation in our schools. So it's a broad campaign that says, let's bring back the culture of respect, the culture of learning in our schools, and the culture where we do not allow any disruption, whether it's in the form of substance abuse, we don't allow those particular. So we take that responsibility. Secondly, it is that as an organization, we are going to embark on another campaign now of reviewing the state, the Schools Act, because the Schools Act, whilst in terms of Section 60, it covers a particular area around the regulation, but it still does not address our concern around this particular issue. So that's what we're going to take it up with the Minister of Education, but obviously we have got to take it up with the Parliament as well, where we'll be calling for the amendment of the laws in order to protect the schools from this type of disruptions, because we need to strengthen the regulation. As I said, it's not adequate.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us and for your time, Mugwena Maluleke from SATU.